Have you ever noticed how some women seem to move forward quietly? They earn more, choose gracefully, and live elegantly, without screaming that they're killing it. Then they have habits that seem invisible, until you realize that every powerful structure is built in silence. I used to be that average woman, trying to get noticed, making noise, trying to prove I could, until I discovered that the real secret to wealth was where no one was looking. Today, I live with real connection, scale with strategy, deliver with ease, and earn consistently. My path wasn't loud. It was slow. It was deep. It was built on 5 quiet yet powerful habits. In this video, I'm going to show you each one of them. They don't require fame, followers, or flashy posts. They require presence. They require courage. They require calm. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, because what comes next might be the shift in perspective you need to see wealth with new eyes, and to practice without posting. 1. The way I use my time is more strategic than it looks. Before becoming a millionaire, I kept saying I didn't have time. My days were a mix of urgencies, random tasks, and distractions that seemed harmless. But deep down, it wasn't time I lacked. It was intentionality. Learning to manage my time as an asset was the first habit that changed everything. I started with a simple exercise. I observed how I spent my hours for a week. I found out I spent more time reacting to messages than creating, more time watching than executing, more time responding to others' demands than building my own freedom. So I reorganized. I turned my calendar into a reflection of the life I wanted to build, not the one I was stuck in. Fixed hours for creating. Time to study what moves me closer to independence. Time to take care of myself because health is the foundation. The discipline was silent. No stories, no check-ins. But that's when the millionaire woman was born. Today, my time works for me. And that alone has put me ahead of 90% of people still running around putting out fires. Comment. My time is my investment. If this made you realize your schedule might be what's keeping you from the freedom you want. 2. I treat my financial decisions like the CEO of my life, because I am. For a long time, my money was emotional. I spent when I was sad, saved out of fear, invested on impulse from some miracle promise, and got frustrated, until one day I stopped everything, opened my bank statement, looked at every expense, and took responsibility. This mess is a reflection of the decisions I've been making. That was the day the CEO of my life was born. Not the woman who waits for leftovers, but the one who decides with long-term vision. I created a simple system. Every dollar has a destination. Every choice has a reason. And nothing I buy can cost more than my peace of mind. I started asking myself always, does this bring me closer to the wealthy woman I'm building? If the answer wasn't a firm yes, it was a peaceful no. Today, my money isn't about showing off. It's about sustaining my freedom, my projects, my mental health. Comment. I'm the CEO of my financial life. If you've realized that freedom begins with decisions no one sees, but that build everything. 3. I learned to protect my energy like I'm guarding an empire. Energy was something I completely neglected. I thought productivity came from doing more, not from being whole. But the more I pushed myself, the more I got sick. Made mistakes. Gave up halfway. It was only when I understood that my energy is my biggest asset that everything shifted. I started mapping what drained me. Negative people who loved to complain. Conversations that ended in guilt. Content that seemed inspiring but left me anxious. And I started cutting. No drama. No big deal. I just slowly pulled away, protected myself, recentered. On the flip side, I nurtured what energized me. Quiet morning hours. Intentional movement, not rushed workouts. Short, deep daily readings. This habit was subtle, but it's what held all the others together. Because without energy, no strategy lasts. Without energy, you become a slave to motivation, and motivation fades. Today, I listen to myself closely, and when I notice something is costing me my peace, I stop. Comment. I protect my energy with the same strength I want to protect my wealth. If this helped you see that what drains you, costs you. 4. I learned to master the art of strategic silence. When I started to grow, I felt an overwhelming urge to tell everyone, to share every win, to show that I was finally getting there. But every time I talked too much, something got stuck. The pressure increased. The fear of failing in front of others grew, and I ended up sabotaging myself. That's when I realized, not everything needs to be said, let alone posted. I learned to work quietly, to build in the dark, to grow without a notification. And that gave me power, because silence protects. It avoids comparisons, shields you from unsolicited opinions, preserves energy. I started talking less about plans and showing more through results. I only shared with people who were ready to listen without judgment, and that protected my journey. Today, my biggest achievements don't have captions. They have peace. They have consistency. They have roots before they ever see a spotlight. Comment: my silence builds what noise never could. If you felt it's time to stop talking and start executing. In peace, with focus, in truth. 5. I made identity a priority before the money arrived. On the outside, I said I wanted to be a millionaire. But on the inside, I still saw myself as average. Someone who got lucky, who was just trying, who wasn't born for this. And that held me back. Because money never comes before identity. That's when I understood I had to change from the inside first. See myself differently. Speak differently. Act like someone who respects herself, takes care of herself, chooses herself. So I started making small adjustments no one noticed, but that changed everything. Choosing better words when talking about myself, creating routines that reinforced my power, letting go of old stories that only validated scarcity. The wealthy woman I wanted to be already existed, but she was suffocating under outdated narratives. Today I don't pretend. I am, and because I am, the money came. It came with ease, with strength, with alignment. Comment: my identity is already rich. The money is just confirmation. If this flipped the switch on who you're being every day. 6. I cultivated an internal commitment to the long term. In the beginning, I wanted everything fast. Results in weeks, returns in days, changes overnight. But every attempt to rush led me to a familiar place, frustration. That's when I realized what no one likes to admit. The wealth game is about patience and persistence. It's not slow, it's steady. Not magical, it's mathematical. And most of all, it's not about motivation, it's about decision. I started thinking like an investor. Each day of discipline was an invisible deposit in an account that would pay off far greater later. Each hard choice was another brick in an empire no one could see, but I could already feel. I learned to tolerate the quiet, to trust the process, to not need immediate proof to keep doing what needed to be done. Today, my results reflect the woman who planted when no one was watching. And that is priceless. Comment: I'm here for the long game. If you now understand that consistency is worth more than speed. 7. I turned routine into ritual and stopped living on autopilot before. I used to wake up reacting. My phone decided my mood. Tasks decided my pace. People decided my focus. My life was a constant rush until I realized no one builds wealth while living distracted. I started turning my days into sacred moments. Waking up became a ritual of presence, not a jolt. Eating became a conscious act, not an escape. Working became an expression of purpose, not an obligation. I didn't need to become a monk. I just needed to be present. Wherever my body was, my mind needed to be too. That level of awareness gave me incredible clarity. It made me more productive in less time. It brought me joy in simple things, and it helped me notice what was draining my power and cut it out without guilt. Today, every part of my day carries intention, and that makes me feel in control, even when the world tries to pull me into distraction. Comment: my routine carries my purpose. If you've realized that living on autopilot costs more than you think. 8. I realized comparison is the fastest shortcut to stagnation. For a long time, I followed other rising women and felt two things: inspiration and inadequacy, as if what they had invalidated who I was, as if their finish line meant I was falling behind. But over time I realized, comparison distracted me from my own journey. It made me doubt what I was building. It made me run out of vanity, not purpose. So I stepped back, stopped consuming content that triggered competition mode, unfollowed profiles that showed a version of success I didn't even want, but that still made me feel less than, and I started looking inward, asking myself every day, am I better than I was yesterday? Does this bring me closer to the woman I want to be? Today I celebrate those who are growing, but I'm in no rush to speed up my own process, because I know my path is unique, and the peace it brings is worth more than any medal. Comment: comparison doesn't speed me up, it stalls me. If you felt it's time to leave the stage of others to finally build your own. Everything you've seen so far is too simple to trend, too quiet to go viral. And that's exactly why it's powerful. These 8 habits weren't posted. They didn't get likes. They didn't show up in reels with background music. But they're what shaped the millionaire woman I am today. Not the bank balance, but the strength behind it. Not the apparent luxury, but the peace of knowing I no longer have to prove anything to anyone. If you've made it this far, something probably stirred inside you. A sense of connection. A good kind of rage. A desire to change. So here's the final truth. Being a millionaire isn't about making money. It's about becoming a woman who can sustain that identity. In silence, with courage, with consistency. And when that happens, the money simply confirms who you've already become. Comment, I choose the invisible that transforms. If this video reminded you that the most powerful building happens where no one is watching. And of course, subscribe to the channel, hit like, and share this video with that woman who needs to stop performing and start transforming. Because there's no revolution without awareness. And now you have both.